Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Admiral Nora Vale stood on the bridge of the starcruiser Audacity, her gaze fixed on the swirling stars ahead. She clasped her hands behind her back, feeling the familiar weight of duty press on her shoulders. Behind her, the 12 ships of humanity's strike force gleamed in formation, their hulls reflecting the pale blue glow of the distant sun. Today they would unleash the Horizon Fold, a bold new technology designed to carry them straight into Dominion space and end the war at its heart. The bridge hummed with controlled excitement. Lieutenant Juno Reed monitored the energy flow to the Horizon Drive, her fingers dancing across the touch panel. All ships report status, Vale ordered, her voice steady even as her heart raced. One by one reports crackled over the comm line: Audacity ready, Vanguard ready, Sentinel ready. At each response, Vale nodded, though no one could see. Finally, the Horizon Drive powered up, filling the room with a low, resonant hum. Captain Enzo Hart, commander of the Audacity's escort cruiser, approached Vale's side. He held a datapad that flickered with schematics. "Drive is stable at 98% efficiency, Admiral," he said quietly. "We can jump as soon as you give the order." Vale studied the readout for a moment, noting a minor fluctuation in the fold matrix. "Proceed," she replied. "We don't have a moment to lose." As the countdown began, the bridge lights dimmed and the hum grew louder. 1098 Vale thought of her home station on Earth, a bustling port orbiting the planet that mankind once called Cradle. She thought of her daughter, little Noah, waiting for her return. She thought of the millions of lives lost over 10 long years of war. 543 she swallowed, reminding herself that this mission carried all hope for peace. 2-1 Horizon Fold engaged. A brilliant aquamarine wave rolled across the bridge, washing away the sight of familiar stars. For an instant, Vale felt a tug at her chest, as if someone reached in and squeezed. The hum morphed into a roar that shook the deck plates under their boots. The stars outside stretched into lines of light, then twisted in impossible patterns. And then everything changed. Alarms blared. The aquamarine glow turned a fierce violet and then drained away, replaced by an eerie, colorless silence. The hum cut off so suddenly that the bridge felt unnaturally still. Vale's ears popped, but no small voice whispered in her mind to say they had arrived. She blinked at the main view screen, expecting to see Dominion worlds, enemy fleets, or the strategic outpost on Valak Prime. Instead, she saw nothing but inky blackness dotted with unfamiliar constellations. "Status report," Vale called, her voice calm despite the shock. Lieutenant Reed's fingers flew over her station. "No ship damage detected, Admiral. All systems nominal, but sensors can't match any known star charts." Hart frowned at his datapad. "There's no sign of Dominion space either. No communication relays, no beacon signals, nothing." A cold knot formed in Vale's stomach. She turned to Science Officer Rafael Ortega, who studied a holographic display of spectral readings. His face was pale. "Admiral, these stars, their signatures are shifted. I've never seen anything like it. This region of space doesn't exist in any database." The words hung heavy in the air. Commander Alia Graves, the navigation chief, stepped forward. "If we recorded any data during the jump, we might reverse engineer our route," she suggested, voice tight. "But our logs were scrambled by the anomaly." Ortega shook his head. "We'll need days just to understand what happened. It's more than a misjump, we're in a pocket dimension." The notion of a pocket dimension hovered between them like a specter. Vale drew a breath. She refused to show panic. "Then we chart this pocket dimension and find a way back," she said. "We owe that to every life waiting for us at home." Her words were met with nods, but the bridge crew's eyes betrayed their fear. Lieutenant Selene Q, the communications officer, tapped at her console. "I'm picking up faint transmissions," she announced. "They're fragments of Alliance comms, or what used to be Alliance comms. They're nearly unreadable." Vale glanced at the display. She made out the broken phrase, "Intrepid missing 5 years ago, 5 years." The revelation struck her with staggering force. "Lieutenant, filter those signals for timestamps," Vale ordered. Q's brow furrowed as she worked. Minutes felt like hours until she whispered, "The signals date back 5 years. It was impossible. To them, only moments had passed." "We folded through space and through time," Vale realized aloud. "For us, it's been minutes. Back home, it's been years." A hush spread across the bridge. The consequences were chilling. Families might have given up hope, planets long unprotected. The Dominion would press its advantage. Vale placed a firm hand on the console. "We cannot waste time. Assemble the science team. Gather every scrap of data on our drive. Liaise with engineering. I want a plan to reverse the fold. We will return to our galaxy and we will end this war no matter how long it takes." As the crew sprang into action, Vale lingered at the viewport, staring at the alien stars. She felt alone yet unwavering. The Audacity and her escort ships floated in a silent sea of unknown. Their mission had gone horribly wrong, but their spirit had not broken. In the face of the infinite and the strange, humanity's determination shone brighter than any star. 5 years had passed back home. Now the vanished fleet would fight a new battle to find its way back, to reclaim its place in the galaxy, and to bring hope to the billions who still believed in peace. Admiral Nora Vale took one last look at the uncharted sky, then turned to lead her crew into the first chapter of their greatest journey. Captain Elias Shaw stood before the holomap in Alliance headquarters on Luna City, his jaw set with determination. The One-Sprout Alliance had shrunk to scattered pockets of resistance. Red zones on the map marked Dominion-held worlds, and only a thin line of blue remained around Earth's orbit and a handful of frontier colonies. Every week, another system fell. The hum of anxious voices filled the war room as officers and diplomats argued over dwindling supplies and evacuation plans. General Corindell, the Alliance's field commander, turned from the display. His uniform was stained with ash from the latest siege on Arcadia Station. "We lose another outpost today," he announced in a low voice. "Our fleets are exhausted, recruitment and resources can't keep pace with Dominion production." At his side, Ambassador Thea Rill tapped her slender fingers on the table. Her people, the Chiral, had pledged their last cruiser months ago. "We must inspire hope," she urged. "Without hope, the Alliance dies." Shaw crossed his arms, recalling Admiral Vale's daring mission. If the Audacity's fleet returned, it could tip the scales. But after 5 years, rumors of the vanished ships felt like myths. He looked at Dell. "Our intel on Valak Prime has never been better. That planet killer is nearly complete. If we can delay it, maybe we buy time for relief fleets." Dell sighed, rubbing his temple. "Delay? Our sabotage squads can't get past the defenses. Valak Prime's orbital shields are too strong." Across the room, a young intelligence officer named Myra Hun sat hunched over a console, scanning decrypted transmissions. Her eyes flicked from line to line, searching for anything that hinted at Admiral Vale's fate. She froze. "Sir, you need to see this." Her voice crackled with excitement and disbelief. Shaw and Dell exchanged looks before hurrying to her station. On the screen, grainy footage showed a cloaked scout ship engaged in combat near Valak Prime, a ship registry that matched the Audacity's escort corvette. "It's them," Myra whispered. "They're back, but it looks like a single vessel." Shaw's heart thudded. Dell stepped closer. "If one ship made it through, perhaps the rest are intact." Hope sparked in the gloom. Meanwhile, on Earth, the people lived under the Dominion's tightening grip. Supply convoys ran fewer runs and ration lines snaked around district blocks. In a crowded cafeteria beneath the orbital ring, engineer Tess Morgan scribbled equations on a datapad. She and her small resistance cell had studied ancient alien ruins on Europa, seeking the key to the Horizon Fold. "We can't just watch the Alliance collapse," she murmured to her partner, Ben Kerv, a former Marine turned courier. "We need a breakthrough, something that makes Dominion tech obsolete." Ben tapped his comlink anxiously. "I've got news. The Dominion's building new dreadnoughts using alien designs from those ruins." Tess's eyes widened. "They reverse-engineered our findings. If they combine that with the planet killer, they'll be unstoppable." She locked her datapad. "We need to share our research with Alliance Command." Ben nodded, already on his way to the shuttle bay. Back in the war room, Shaw issued orders. "Prepare the sabotage fleet for a diversionary strike on Valak Prime's outer defenses. At the same time, we'll dispatch a comm mission to contact any returning ships. We can't afford another missed chance." Dell looked at him with concern. "And what of the planet killer? If we slow them here, they'll crush Earth while we're busy." Shaw met his gaze. "Then we prioritize our homeworld's defense until we confirm reinforcements." As orders spread, Alliance pilots and engineers worked feverishly. In a hidden hangar on Luna's far side, Flight Commander Thel Winter supervised the fitting of new pulse disruptors on battered corvettes. Thel's crew whispered that she was too young for such responsibility, but her steady calm inspired them. She patted a hull panel. "Every bullet and bolt counts," she said. "We're the spark that lights the fire." 3 light days from Valak Prime, Captain Alia Graves guided her stealth corvette through an asteroid field. Her mission: map the planet killer's shield grid. The vessel's cloaking field flickered under enemy sensor sweeps, but the technology Vale's fleet had developed was still imperfect. Graves held her breath as a Dominion patrol cruiser swept by, scanners glowing. Thel gripped the controls. "Steady, steady," then the cruiser passed without detection. Graves exhaled. "Laser drones are ready," she reported to her co-pilot technician Anna Petrov. "We upload the data and slip away." On Valak Prime's outskirts, explosive charges concealed in asteroids detonated in sequence, drawing orbital batteries to investigate. Sparks and fireballs lit the void as Alliance disruptors lured defenses away from the main gate. Amid the chaos, a disguised corvette streaked toward the shield emitter, broadcasting reconnaissance data back to Luna. Myra Hun's decrypted feed showed the shield's fractal patterns and weak points. "We have a window," she said, voice trembling with excitement. Dell sprang into action. Launch the disruption run now. A squadron of battered frigates armed with pulse disruptors emerged from cover, streaming toward Valak Prime's shield generator. Dominion laser emplacements opened fire, cutting bright arcs across space. The pulse disruptors released waves of energy that overloaded shield processors. Alarms blared on Valak Prime. "We're in," Thel announced, flanking the shield array. But enemy fighters swarmed, and one disruptor frigate exploded in a fiery bloom. Shaw's heart pounded as he watched the holomap. "Hold the line," he barked. "Protect that shield breach." Alliance pilots engaged in desperate dogfights, their corvettes dancing through flak and tracer fire. Casualties mounted, but to everyone's relief, the shield over Valak Prime flickered and collapsed for a precious minute. "Breach sustained," Anna reported. "Pulse disruptors working." But Alliance relief was short-lived. Dominion dreadnoughts surged from behind Valak Prime, their ion cannons painting the darkness with lethal beams, Del cursed. "They anticipated this. Their new ships arrived ahead of schedule," Shaw ground his teeth. "Then we ride this breach as long as we can, every second counts." He turned to Myra. "Strip that data and send it to Nora Vale. If she's out there, she'll know what to do." As Law Blue, the Alliance clerk, initiated the encrypted transmission, Shaw felt a tremor in his chest. Years of losses weighed on him, but he refused to surrender. Outside the window of Luna City's command center, Earth orbited silently, its blue oceans and green continents resilient despite the scars of war. Shaw whispered, "For hope for humanity." In the flickering holo view screens, the final moments of the breach played out. The breach held long enough for the infiltration ships to dart through, but the shield reformed under Dominion retaliation. Alliance ships that didn't escape were blasted to shards, yet the data survived, coursing through space toward an unknown destination. The seed of resistance, an ember of hope, had been planted. And somewhere beyond known stars, Admiral Nora Vale and her fleet would receive the message that embers of a desperate alliance still burned, fuel for the fire that would one day ignite humanity's return. Science officer Rafael Ortega hunched over the holo display in the Audacity's lab, tracing glowing lines that represented alien constellations. Navigator Maya Linen hovered beside him, her finger tapping each star point as she cross-referenced their spectral readings. For days, they had combed their sensor logs for anything familiar. Everything here was alien, from the pale green suns to the twin moons that circled a dead world in the distance. Their mission now was clear: map this pocket dimension and find a path back to normal space. But the crystal-clear equations etched into the Horizon Drive's databanks were their only guide. "Look here," Maya said, pointing to a cluster of stars whose arrangement echoed a fractal pattern in the drive's fold matrix. Ortega zoomed in, adjusting the display's scale. "The energy signature here matches our resonance tests from the initial jump," he realized. "If we fold along this nodal line, we might recreate the anomaly that brought us here." Maya's eyes brightened. "And if we shift the phase angle by exactly 97.4 degrees, she trailed off, breathless. Together they ran simulations, cross-checking each variable against the ship's capacity. Every result brought them closer to hope and closer to danger. Meanwhile, in the communication bay, Lieutenant Selene Q replayed the faint distress beacon they had detected hours ago. Each burst of data crackled with static and distortion, but one fragment stood out, a sequence of tones that matched the Audacity's call sign system. She looped the transmission, isolating the pattern. "This isn't just random noise," she told comms chief Lisa Hayes. "It's a deliberate signal someone else is trying to reach us." Hayes frowned, leaning over the console. "Could be another lost vessel from the strike force," she murmured. "We need to triangulate the source." Across the ship, engineer Lena Oran pored over blueprints of the Horizon Drive's central core. The great spool of folded spacetime matrix lay before her in glowing schematic form, each coil a promise of escape. She massaged her temples, exhausted from nights spent adjusting power conduits and recalibrating phase modulators. "We can't just flip a switch," she warned Ortega and Maya when they joined her with news of the beacon. "The drive been unstable since the jump. If we misalign the fold, we could tear the ship apart." Ortega nodded. "We know the risks, engineer, but without that beacon source mapped, we can't guarantee our reverse fold will put us back in our galaxy and not someplace worse." That evening, Admiral Vale convened with her senior officers in the briefing room. The circular table bore the scars of countless planning sessions, coffee stains interlaced with scorch marks from overworked consoles. Vale's expression was grim but resolute. "We have 3 objectives," she began. 1. Chart the nodal line Maya and Raphael identified. 2. Locate and rescue the source of the beacon signal. 3. Assemble the reverse fold plan with Lena's modifications. Failure is not an option. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Even with hope kindling, each officer bore the weight of 5 years' absence from home. Lieutenant Q stood, her voice was steady, but she could not hide the tremor in her heart. The beacon could be from Captain Graves' corvette or from one of the escort frigates. Their last known positions put them at the outer edge of our jump vector. Vale nodded. Then we mount a recovery sweep along that perimeter, send out drone probes small, agile with extended range, and keep our main drive at standby. Once we lock onto the signal, we'll decide rescue first or jump first. She paused, letting the gravity of the choice settle. We cannot split the fleet, we must move as one. In the hangar bay, tech crews assembled a squadron of micro-drones, sleek craft no larger than a hand's span, each equipped with sensors and a distress beacon homing array. Pilot Jax Nito, whose specialty was zero-gravity maneuvers, tested a drone's thrusters as his partner, systems officer Tara Ven, calibrated its signal filters. They worked in silence, focused on the hum of machinery and the soft hiss of decompression pumps. When the last drone slid into its launch cradle, Jax grinned. Ready for liftoff, Commander Graves. Let's find our lost brothers and sisters. At the navigation console, Maya initiated the sweep pattern. The main view screen lit up with dozens of colored blips, drone paths weaving through the black expanse, each one following a faint trail of audio pings. Ortega and Lena watched anxiously as the drones dispersed. Minutes passed, measured in heartbeats, until a single blip detached from the formation and pulsed bright green. QO amplified the signal, the cadence was unmistakable. "We have them," she exclaimed. "They're on the dark side of the shattered moon cluster." Vale stood abruptly. "Prepare a rescue team," she ordered. "We proceed at maximum safe speed." The rescue corvette cut through the void, its engines leaving no exhaust but glowing faintly from the drive's residual energy. Inside, the rescue party, led by Medical Officer Dr. Claire Evans and Security Chief Mark Rill, checked their equipment. Every face was taut with anticipation. For some, the possibility of finding fellow survivors after 5 years meant reunion. For others, it meant confronting the horrors they might have endured. Moments later, the corvette drifted into view of the fragmented moons, giant asteroids pocked with craters and striated with ancient lava flows. Among them floated a battered frigate, half its hull missing yet strangely intact. Its lights flickered weakly. Rill activated the boarding thrusters and the rescue team clambered through the airlock. Inside, the corridors were dark, panels ripped open and wires torn. Dr. Evans waited at the command room door, where a lone figure slumped at the console. Pilot Nico Soren, one of the original escort captains. "Nico?" Vale's voice crackled over the comm. Soren stirred, blinking at the sound of his admiral's call sign. He pressed a hand to his temple. "Admiral, I thought I was alone," he croaked. Vale's relief was palpable. "You're safe now, we'll get you back home." As he rose, supported by Rill, Soren looked out the shattered viewport at the strange stars beyond. "We tried to reverse the fold ourselves," he rasped. "But the drive overloaded and stranded us here." Vale's jaw tightened. "You did well to survive. Now lie low while we plan our return, and thank you for not giving up." Back aboard the Audacity, Soren was tended by medics while the officers debriefed him. Every detail he provided, about power surges, temporal distortions, and the moment the last escort ship vanished, fed directly into Lena's reverse-fold blueprint. As night fell in that alien sky, the crew gathered in quiet clusters, hearts buoyed by their first real triumph in years. They had rescued a comrade, remapped the route, and come one step closer to home. And though the dark expanse still held its secrets, the echoes from beyond had spoken. Humanity's lost fleet was not alone, and their journey back had gained its first true hope. Engineer Lena Uran stood beneath the massive frame of the Horizon Drive's core spindle, her hands stained with solder and coolant residue. The ship's low hum, a constant reminder of the raw power inside the drive, reverberated through the maintenance bay's metal grating. Around her, technicians adjusted phase modulators and reinforced containment coils with alloy plates scavenged from the rescued frigate. Every piece had to be perfect. One slight misalignment could trigger another anomaly, or worse, obliterate the entire fleet. Science Officer Rafael Ortega and Navigator Maya Linen hovered nearby, comparing lines on their datapads. "The resonant frequency peaks at 21.6 kHz, Ortega said, tracing a waveform on the holo chart. "Lena, we need the dampeners tuned just below that to avoid harmonic feedback." Lena nodded without looking up. "I'll recalibrate the plutonium ballast shunts," she replied, "but I need the exact tolerances." Maya tapped a few commands. "I'll transmit the values directly to your console. We must maintain at least 2 kHz of separation, or risk a feedback loop." Above them, Admiral Nora Vale watched through the bay's reinforced viewport. The drive's newly installed phase stabilizers glowed with pale blue arcs of energy. The rest of the fleet's ships, Vanguard, Sentinel, Artemis, and 9 others, lined the hangar's orbital docking tubes, their hull plating fresh from emergency repairs. Each bore scars of cosmic dust, micrometeoroid impacts, and a few unexplained energy burns from the initial jump. Now they had one chance to redeem themselves. Vale turned to Captain Enzo Hart. "Status report," she said. His voice sounded tight, his usual easy confidence tempered by fatigue. "Modifications complete," he replied. "We've reinforced the field generators and upgraded the control matrix, but I'm concerned about power draw. The reverse fold will demand every reactor grid at peak output." Vale nodded. "Then we'll stagger the phase sequence. We can divert auxiliary power from non-essential systems, life support in crew quarters, broad-spectrum sensors." Hart ran a hand through his hair. "It's risky, some systems may not restart immediately." Beneath the hangar floor, engineer Tess Morgan and her resistance team worked on a secondary relay station built from alien tech they scavenged on Europa. They had learned to fold pocket space communication bursts through that station, allowing Lieutenant Selene Kuo to maintain a tenuous link with Alliance Command. Tess checked her power converter and smiled wryly. "We're ready," she said to Ben Kerv, her former Marine partner. "Once Vale gives the word, we'll beam the fold coordinates to Earth." Kerv's grin was grim. "Let's just hope Earth still exists by then." Elsewhere in the ship's central briefing room, the key officers gathered for the final pre-jump plan. Admiral Vale tapped her datapad. "Objective, reverse the pocket fold at nodal point delta. Sequence, Phase 1, align field generators. Phase 2, engage resonance dampeners. Phase 3, initiate reverse fold impulse. Estimated charge time, 30 seconds. All ships must synchronize to within 0.002 seconds. Any desynchronization and we risk misplacing part of the fleet, or tearing ourselves apart." Science Officer Ortega pointed at the display. "For reverse fold, we input a negative phase angle of 97.4 degrees, exactly opposite our entry vector. That should bend space back along the same corridor." Navigator Lennon chimed in, "But we must account for time dilation. 5 years passed in normal space while only days have passed here. The temporal offset will shift our exit point. We need to adjust by calculating the elapsed interval." Hart tapped his stylus. "Our simulations predict an exit near the Velocia sector, beyond Volok Prime's orbital defense grid. Ideal for surprise entry." Medical Officer Dr. Claire Evans raised a concern. "The crew has been under immense stress. If we plunge into the fold under combat conditions, trauma or panic could disrupt the synchronization protocols." Admiral Vale met her gaze. "Then we prepare them, psychological conditioning on standby, and we'll assign each crew member a primary and secondary role, clear procedures, no improvisation." Evans nodded. "I'll have the med teams ready." Security Chief Mark Rill added, "We need to assign boarding teams to intercept Dominion vessels in the Velocia sector just in case." Vale considered. "Only if we detect shipping lanes. Primary focus remains escape. Any engagement will be incidental." Rill frowned but saluted. "Understood." With the plan set, the crew dispersed. In the central corridor, Captain Hart gathered his bridge officers. "Remember your mark," he said. "We're the flagship, all eyes on us. If we falter, they all falter." Comms Officer Lisa Hayes stepped forward. "Our transmission relay to Earth will activate 1 minute before fold. We'll send a summary, fleet returning, planet killer target. After that, comms blackout until exit." Hart squeezed her shoulder. "Thank you, Lieutenant." As the fleet moved into formation outside the hangar's wave-dampening field, the ship's AI systems linked in a mesh net, exchanging drive metrics in real time. Engineer Lena monitored the master console, her eyes flicking between oscilloscopes displaying reactor currents and spatial distortion plots. Beside her, technician Rui Tan shivered with excitement. "We're good to go," Rui whispered. Lena exhaled. "Initiate phase alignment." She pressed her palm to the biometric scanner. Terminals across the bay hummed as magnetic clamps snapped into place, locking field generators in perfect orientation. Countdown began. 60, 50, 40, 30. Vale took her place on the bridge, calm as ever. Hart's hands hovered over the engagement controls. Below decks, the crew braced themselves in fusion couches, restraining straps tight. Medical teams circulated in the corridors, offering last-minute respirator checks and reassuring nods. Engineer Tess validated the relay's crystallized transmission payload. "Coordinates locked," she said. At 10 seconds, the entire fleet's lights dimmed. At 5 seconds, the whine of the Horizon drives rose in pitch, echoing through the void. Hart's voice cut through the comm channel. "All ships stand by for reverse fold. Synchronize on my mark." He inhaled. Mark. A blinding aquamarine glow blossomed around each ship. Space itself rippled as if painted on a cosmic canvas. Beams of energy arced from the drive spindles, weaving a field that folded the pocket dimension inside out. The hum reached a crescendo, an otherworldly chord that resonated in every weld and rivet. For a heartbeat, the fleet held in a suspended moment beyond time. And then everything shifted. The glow turned violet, then pure white light filled every viewport. Sparks of spatial distortion danced across the view screens, warping the stars into molten trails. The hum slammed into silence as if someone severed the universe's power cable. Every console blinked off, then back on. Hart's voice steadied against the ringing in his ears. Engagement successful. Axes realigned. Sensors coming online. Vale scanned the tactical display. The fleet had emerged in a familiar starfield in the Velocia sector just beyond Valak Prime's outer defense ring. Orbital installations glowed dimly with shield arcs and laser emplacements. Dominion patrol cruisers drifted in standard formation. Everything was exactly as Intel predicted. Except for one startling fact, the fleet's drives read at full power, no damage, and zero temporal offset. They had overcome nature's laws. Open comms, Vale ordered. Hayes keyed the frequency. All ships, this is Admiral Nora Vale. We are back. Prepare for operations at Valak Prime, and may God guard our souls. Static crackled, then a chorus of Alliance call signs responded. Audacity copies, welcome home. As the crew erupted with relief, Engineer Lena let out a shaky laugh. Ortega and Maya exchanged triumphant grins. On the medical decks, Dr. Evans slumped into a seat, overcome by emotion. Captain Hart clasped the Admiral's shoulder. We did it, he said. Vale gazed at the swirling defenses of Valak Prime. Now the real fight begins. The gambit of the reverse fold had succeeded. The vanished fleet had returned, whole and ready. 5 years of embers had become a roaring flame. Humanity's long journey through the void had come full circle, and the next chapter would decide the fate of the galaxy.